Hey guys, Banana Luck here. Welcome back to another Watch Our Realms video. We're back on the test server today because we have 3 new units, and the second one that we're going to talk about is Janus Grismore. So this trick is essentially the Phoenix Flame that you see Oren grabbing in his intro video. So I think they're somewhat related if you actually bother to go and read up the lore, everything. How do we actually read that here? Yeah, I'm not sure how do we get there, but yeah. Basically, this is a new Infernal Mage, and she has offensive Dispel, which makes me think that she was built to be used in Gear Dungeon 3, because that's one of the places where, offensive Dispel is needed more than ever now, and hopefully she can do enough damage on her own to do well there. So, stats-wise, she's at 5.1k attack. That's slightly above the average mage attack. And then cost is at 19, and then the rest of the stats are pretty standard. Then you can see the mage range there. I think it's slightly one front tile shorter than what we usually get compared to piercers. And sometimes on mages you get that one extra tile in front, but this trick doesn't get that. And she's also anti-air, interesting. I think this is the first Infernal unit that we're seeing with an anti-air tech. The other one is probably Setram maybe. And then she does summons, obviously, as you can see the Phoenix hovering around her. Now let's take a look at her kit. So Talon, very long string of attacks here, summons Phoenix Egg in range every 10 seconds, which incubates into Phoenix after 15. So summon unit that inherits 100% of the hero's attribute, it will occupy the tile and can block one enemy target while on the ground. So it means that it can actually block units. And it incubates into Phoenix after 15 seconds. Airborne summon unit inherits 100% of hero's attributes, does not occupy any tiles, and deals 90% magic damage while inflicting burning for 5 seconds with each attack. So obviously going to synergize really well with the rest of the Infernal team. Total number of Phoenix Egg and Phoenixes on the field cannot exceed 3. And the hero cannot summon Phoenix Egg during her ultimate. When casting the ultimate, immediately dispels one buff from all enemies inflicted with burning on the field. So it means that regardless of where the units are, as long as they have burning, this is going to be dispelled. And then when taking fatal damage, the hero revives with full HP and removes all Phoenix on the field. Hero has 1 revival chance per deployment, and the revival can be triggered up to 2 times per battle, which means that you can redeploy her and she can do the revival a second time. Now, it's going to be interesting where you can use this sort of kit. My guess is that perhaps Gear Dungeon 2, where you do remove units quite frequently, maybe that's where she'll come in handy. Let's take a look at her kit. So passive deals 120% magic damage to one enemy when the total number of Phoenix Egg and Phoenix on the field reaches the limit. Basic attack will hit 1 extra enemy and also inflict burning. So that's a burning of 5 seconds, and yeah, I think she should probably hit the max count pretty easily as long as you don't remove the Phoenix, which I'm sure there's some way to do so. First passive, Phoenix Egg absorbs 1 burning effect from an enemy within 3 tiles every 1 second, then shortens the incubation time by 3 seconds. After Phoenix Egg hatches into Phoenix, increases its penetration by 15% per burning effect absorbed, stacking up to 3 times. Each stack increases the hero's penetration by 8% when she absorbs Phoenixes through her ultimate, stacking up to 5 times. And this effect is removed when the ultimate ends. So Phoenix gets penetration for every burning effect that's 15% each. And given that the Phoenix spawns in 15 seconds, I think the max you can reduce it by is probably 4 times if you get 4 burning stacks. So that gives you a 60% penetration. Only stacks to 3 times, so 45%. And then each stack of this increases the hero's penetration by 8% when she absorbs Phoenixes through her ultimate, stacking up to 5 times. Effect is removed when the ultimate ends. Okay, we have to take a look at the ultimate to see how can she absorb 5, because yeah, she can only spawn 3 Phoenixes at one point in time, so I'm a bit confused there. Alright, when the total number of Phoenix Egg and Phoenix on the field reaches its limit, subsequent summons triggered by the talent will instead shorten the incubation time of Phoenix Egg by 3 seconds, increases crit damage of the hero and Phoenixes by 40% for 15 seconds. So all in all, you are just poised to summon the Phoenixes as much as possible. At least that's what most of the kit is doing. But I can see where the crit damage comes in handy if you can somehow time it to be before you use her ultimate and all. Alright, ultimate, when activating, if the number of Phoenixes on the field is at least 2, increases the damage of the hero and Phoenixes by 110% per Phoenix. It can go up to 330%, or each attack bounces 1 time and inflicts 3 extra burning effect, and removes all Phoenixes on the field after the ultimate ends. Otherwise, immediately ends the ultimate, catches all Phoenix Eggs on the field, and summons up to 2 extra Phoenix Eggs. So there's an interesting one. If let's say there's not at least 2, then you can pop the ultimate earlier to actually get the 2 extra Phoenix Eggs and also hatch the ones that already exist at the same time. I do wonder what happens if, let's say, okay, so if the number of Phoenixes is at least 2, so what if you have 3 eggs? Can you pop the ultimate and summon 2 more Phoenix Eggs? I'm not sure, because over here it says that number of eggs and Phoenix cannot exceed 3. So I'm not sure how the ultimate comes in handy, especially in the second portion here. I'll have to test it out to find out. But now let's move to her awakenings. Reduces attack interval the hero and Phoenix by 20%. That's a very nice one. We're getting a lot of these attack interval reductions in A1s. Gretchen is the other one. A2, when deployed, immediately summons 3 Phoenixes. So that's very nice. You immediately get the 3 Phoenix, and when you pop the ultimate, you immediately get the maximum effect. A3, when a Phoenix dies, immediately restores 8% rage with a 50% chance to immediately summon 1 Phoenix Egg. So that's a nice one. So with the ultimate, that means that you get 24% rage immediately back. A4 is penetration, which the hero already has plenty of. And an A5, when ultimate is triggered, deals 600% damage 1 time up to 3 enemies in range inflicted with burning. For every 1 burning effect on the target, damage increases by 5% up to an increase of 50%. So I'm assuming that's only during the ultimate, you know, where she gets that bonus damage. So a very complex hero. Honestly, sounds like a lot of damage coming through from her, but really have to understand how the Phoenixes work. How can you actually, you know, max out and get the 5 stacks? Because otherwise, from what it reads now, it looks like you can only get 3 Phoenixes at any point in time. Unless they're saying that you can get 3 Phoenix Egg and 3 Phoenix at any point in time. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so that's Janus Grismore. Her kit, we'll obviously test her out in many other places and see how she works out. But that's probably all we're going to showcase for now. And yeah, she has no exclusive artifact. So yeah, let's move on to the testing. Alright, so we're just going to have a quick look at Janus Grismore, take a look at her stats and her skills and everything, see how it all works out. And maybe we'll also test some sets as well to see what she works best in. But she's a summoner type hero, but she does have burning in her kit as well. So I do wonder if Infernal Raw is better, or something like Sober Arcana or Cataclysm is better for her instead. So we're gonna head right in. This is the Infernal Raw set that we have. But I just want to take a quick look at how her eggs work first of all. So we're gonna do her deployment here, and then we'll put down Earless. I can see the eggs don't summon yet. It's gonna be interval, sorry, cooldown interval thing. And then once the bird, you can see the fire rays coming through. One more egg dropping. They can stack on top of each other as well. So that's how the eggs work. And then that's the maximum that it can go. You're not gonna get anything beyond that. And I think every time we see that whiff of flame coming up, it's actually her passive boosting her. So instead of summoning the Phoenix, you're actually getting damage from just, you know, existing there. And then you can pop the ultimate. The Phoenixes will go into their increased damage mode. We do more damage as well. 4 stacks of burning, which is just nice to proc Violeta Vein, and then all the birds disappear again. Then go through the phase of summoning the birds once more. So it might be a strategy that we don't actually even pop the ultimate on her at all. That, you know, we just leave her there, do her damage as she wishes to. Yeah, the birds don't actually occupy any space, but from the testing that I've done in Gear Dungeon, it looks like they do block in the egg form. They can die in the egg form, but once they become a bird, then yeah, it's gonna be unblockable and nothing you can really do about it there. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick test here. I'm just gonna put her down, and then we'll see what damage she does once we get 3 eggs up. And then the ultimate ends. Just gonna see whether Infernal Roar is potentially good for her. So 1 egg. 2 eggs. 3 eggs. And we're just gonna pop the ultimate. To see when the shield phase ends here. Here we just wait for the ultimate to end. So that's about 45 million damage here. And that's with Infernal Roar. So the theory is that because of how fast the summons are being generated, you might not be able to use her in Soma Arcana in some cases. But if we switch around, let's just do a quick look here. My guess is that Hell's Lament is going to be absolutely awful for her, because the birds are not going to inherit the stats at all. But let's see. So yeah, those are my presets sets. They don't differ too much. And yeah, let's hit in here. And then we're going to take a quick look there with the same position. Same thing, we're going to wait for the 3 birds to hatch before we do anything. You can see the ramping up really comes from after the first bird hatches. Then the other 2 birds are going to come in pretty quickly. Now if you have another unit that does burning, then that's going to be a very different situation. You're probably going to get a lot more damage coming out of it. There you go, 37, 38 million. It is definitely a lot lower than the 45 that we're seeing. So I think the guess is correct that Hell's Lament is going to be awful because the Phoenixes don't actually inherit the stats at all. And then now the next test, we're going to just try Cataclysm, because if Cataclysm works, then chances are it's going to be just slightly better than Soma Arcana. So we'll just put that in, enter the battle. Wait for the 3 birds to hatch before we do anything. Once the second one comes out, it actually starts off very quickly. Last egg, so we pop the ultimate. See what damage we can do here. Cataclysm Actually not doing that well as well, only at 38 million. I'm not really sure why. It could be that the Cataclysm stacks don't get inherited onto the birds, but Infernal Raw is the only way that it works. Because there's no deployment of the Phoenix or anything, but for some reason Cataclysm does so much worse. Now, last one is gonna be Soma Arcana. And to test this, we're just gonna put a Diao-chan on the side. And then see what happens there in terms of damage. So far, Infernal Raw is doing the best in terms of damage. Which is kind of weird because she is a burn unit. And yeah, Infernal Raw typically doesn't do too well there. One switch, two switch, 3, 4, 5. So that's done. We're just gonna despawn Diao-chan. There are 3 birds here. Just gonna pop the ultimate. $37 million, so pretty close to Soma Arcana. Sorry, it's pretty close to Cataclysm. It seems like so far Infernal Raw works the best, but I could be wrong. So maybe there are better units. Sorry, maybe there is a better way to test this, but so far from what we can see here, Infernal Raw seems to be the best set for her, which is kind of weird because we have her doing lots of burning on herself. But I think with the fact that the Phoenixes are taking a lot of her damage, then yeah, the burning effect isn't as big of a deal as much as the Phoenixes are. So yeah, that's the quick test that we wanted to run. Now we're just gonna go in straight to the content that I believe that she has the most potential in, which is gonna be Gear Dungeon 3. Let's get into that. Alright, so one of the main areas that we're gonna test out Janus is gonna be Gear Dungeon 3. Is this one of the places where you kind of need offensive dispel, is do or die, and she is one of those rare units that can actually do that. So yeah, that's what we're gonna work out with her. She is able to do dispels on every unit that's inflicted with burning, so there's some potential with Nurture there, but since I was testing Oren, I decided to, use him in the mix instead. So yeah, that's what we're running with. Just need to put some gear back on him before we continue. You can see the test server gear is absolutely terrible, so just need to find something that works here. Yeah, we'll head back in. So this is the run. Let's head in, show you guys what can be done. So yeah, honestly, I feel like there's a better way to use her. I don't think this way that I'm using her is actually the best format. My guess is that once she comes onto global server, people might find more use cases for her. For example, like I said with Nurture, I can possibly time out the ultimate such that you get the dispels going off at the same time at the top and bottom. So that's something for consideration. And now we're just gonna take off the first shield with this ultimate. And once you cast out the dispels here, you're gonna see Oren absolutely deleting these units here. But yeah, he's not supposed to be the focus here. I'm gonna take a closer look at the other side of the map actually. So you're just gonna wait for a bit here. And then cast the ultimate. And then we're gonna do the Oren ultimate again. And we'll go ahead to put down Janus Grismore. And then Draylin. The last unit we're going to put down here is just going to be Soulcadence. You see the eggs spawning there. There's kind of a bit of RNG as well with where the eggs spawn. So that's one thing to consider. So if the eggs don't spawn in the right spot, then yeah, you wind up having bad positionings. In this case, I think we are doing just fine. I'm going to pop the Gretchen ultimate along with Violetta. And pop the ultimate there. So ideally you want 3 birds on her when she's doing all this. There she goes. She's gonna go down there. And yeah, we're just gonna have to shield across this set of impacts. Go. Somehow Draylian still got bleed on her, but I think we're fine here. So far the run is going well. So yeah, once you don't have any enemies in range, typically the Phoenixes are gonna spawn quite well there. And then we're gonna get another round of the impacts there. Let's cast the shields. And then we'll do the Gretchen ultimate along with Soulcadence. And let's just proc the Lord skill here, get some damage off. That unit dies, and then we cast the Oran ultimate to finish off these guys. I think we have one more AoE hit from the boss before everything goes off. And then she won't do any more AoE hits. Let's see. So this one, we won't be able to cast any spells. What we're gonna do instead is just try to tank through it. You can see that the spell is not gonna come in time. We're just gonna wait for the other unit to come in instead. And once that is almost there, I'm gonna cast the Gretchen ultimate. Then once we have 2 burns here, I'm gonna do the rest of the ultimates. Try to get the Draylian ultimate here. You can see one of the unit died there. I don't know if we got the other one as well. It's a bit hard to tell. It looks like we got the other one. That's the goal there. So once you're able to finish 2 of those units together, you're in a pretty sweet spot. Don't really need to worry too much. Then we're just gonna wait for the next round of ultimates here. Pop the Janus Grismore one, Dispel, and then we'll do Violeta, and then get Draylian for the 25% damage boost. And then you can go ahead to finish with Oran over here. And there we go. So it's not the best team, if I can be honest, because I feel like Kigiri Dracula probably does a lot better here, and we have Soulcadence here that's at A3, which is a pretty high requirement there. But beyond that, it is probably a viable team. I think we just need to find some way for Janus Grismore to actually work beyond just, you know, applying the Dispel on one unit here. Because you can see, in terms of damage, she's actually doing the most here. She has the highest potential. Bear in mind that she's only A1 in this feature. That gives her Phoenix 20% and herself 20% reduced attack interval. We have A3 Soulcadence, A3 Violeta, but they don't do nearly as well as what she does here. So yeah, those are just food for thought. We also have Gretchen boosting in terms of killing the clone there. So my biggest gripe with this top right hand corner strategy is that we don't really have enough damage to get it done. We are really pulling a lot of the good units here to do so. But who knows, maybe this team might be something for you. If let's say you don't have A5 Dracula or you don't have A3 Kigiri, that could be something that potentially works out. So yeah, now let's get into the final conclusions to see you know, where she's good at. Alright, so one of the areas that I wanted to test out Janus Grismore in as well is Abyss, because I find that that's one of the areas that she could potentially do well in. Given that in Gear Dungeon 3 we saw her doing the most damage on the top right hand corner when we paired it beside Violeta, Vayne as well as Soulcadence. So let's see if she can replicate the same here. If she does well here, then potentially this is gonna be one of the best, you know, Infernal single target teams we have for boss content in general. Now to bear in mind that Soulcadence does deal damage, so when you pair her with we'll pair Janus Grismore with Soakadins and yeah, doing the outs more often. Might be a chance where Soakadin steals all the damage instead. And she also enables Violeta Vein really well, because all the Phoenixes that she summons essentially inflict burning, which sets off her talent, the Soul Burn, pretty frequently. I'm just gonna do an auto run here to set up the initial bit of the runs until the third physical phase is where we'll slow things down and show you guys how the team goes. There we go, so first physical phase almost done. And Gretchen works really amazing here because she just gives so much damage. And on top of that, she offers Rage Regen, which gives the other units more ultimate cycling as well. So you can see just from the first phase alone, Kigiri and Gretchen are very close behind aside from each other. Now Wukong is probably going to be much more versatile when you look at content everywhere else, but Gretchen is coming up to be a pretty strong physical damage dealers for this game mode as well. Other stuff there. Pop the Soakadin's ultimate. You can see so far Violeta Vein is the one carrying most of the damage, followed by Soakadin's and then Janus Grismore. Not too surprising there, given that Soakadin's does steal damage, and Violeta Vein is the one proccing the repeated burns, but Janus Grismore herself is supporting in terms of that, making all that happen. Another Rimswrath here. You can see 48k halfway through, so pretty decent score. This team will potentially be able to do 100k even with pretty average gear here on test server. So that's a good sign. Another round of ultimates there. Seismic Slam, and this is where we pop all the ultimates in a bit. Sorry, just one more wave. Yeah, after the Meteoric Deluge, and then this is where we pop all the ultimates. And once the Meteor lands, yeah, damage is just gonna go crazy from there. So now Soakadins is topping the charts, followed by Violeta Vein. Janus Grismore even lower now, I think owing to the fact she's not actually doing much of her damage when Soakadins is stealing all of it. Now we're just gonna pop the ultimate here. Last physical phase and get the healings off, because this is where the damage starts to hurt quite a fair bit. There we go. So another Drix Bellow here, we should be able to survive this. You're gonna see Gretchen's reach increase quite quickly because she's already at full energy stacks. And we're just gonna pop Soakadins and Gretchen. We're gonna do Wukong, followed by Kigiri. See if we get enough damage to take down the shield. We probably should, given that we have like 4 DPS units on there. The question is whether we can get another round of ultimates, because we have Gretchen's reach up. There we go. And I'll prop the alien ultimate in a bit here. I'm gonna go despawn Kigiri and Wukong as well. These units are no longer needed there. I will do the Soakadin's ultimate. I can see Raiga dying there, that's kinda expected. Look like Gretchen. The rest of the units are just slowly getting picked up. And yeah, 96k. Quite close to 100. I think if we could have gotten the team to survive a bit there. Maybe despawning the units was not the best call. 96k team. And in terms of damage, what we're seeing here is that Violeta Vein is at the top, followed by Soakadins and then Janus Grismore. And then the rest of the physical units are still doing as much damage as before. Now, Gretchen is no surprise here. We all know that she has a pretty cracked out kit. And don't forget that the A5 is mainly just giving one more crit damage to one more ally target, as well as one more unit for the rage regen. So she does fall off a bit here, but I do have to admit that she enables Violeta Vein quite a bit in terms of the burning stacks that she provides to consecutively trigger that Soul Blaze slash Infernal, Soul Burn slash Infernal Blaze. So that's the team, and yeah, I think the damage charts at the final bit also don't take into account shield damage, so you can't really see that here. And to bear in mind that most of the time we popped her ultimate, it was actually to take down the shields. So yeah, that's the Abyss test. Now let's move on to conclude the video. Alright, so last place we're going to test out Janus Grismore in is going to be the Arbiter of Frost Codex. This is one game mode that's been recently taken over by the Infernal team. But this codex is also notoriously bad for the RNG. Damage fluctuates quite a fair bit. And with Janus Grismore, the A3 is quite a big RNG factor because there's only a 50% chance that, you know, she gets the eggs back after they expire. So yeah, that's the thing to take note of. But other than that, it's a pretty strong team. What we're doing is basically replacing Lord Finis from the mix, while still running Earlis as Ingrid, because these two units are still the powerhouses of the Burning comp. So let's get in and show you guys how it's done. Right. So we're gonna do Janus Grismore, in here. Yeah, let's see what we can do. A lot of burns going on here because all the phoenixes get summoned from her A2. They inflict burning right away, and yeah, boss is just taking a lot of damage over time. Things going on there. A 9 ultimate lining up nicely, that's good. One more ultimate here from Violeta Vein. And you can see the core detonating right away. So far damage is looking pretty alright. Just gonna proc another ultimate here, so you can see that's RNG there. Not 100% of the phoenixes coming back at the same time. Once we have that done out, we can just proc the ultimates. This team is definitely stacking up a lot more burns than I expected. Once we proc this, get the ultimates out again. Let's proc the ultimate again. See in the later runs, that's where damage starts to ramp up a bit more. 5 million now. This cryo cores mostly melt pretty quickly. And once that's done, yeah, you can just go ahead to pop the rest of the ultimates. Good RNG, 3 of the eggs coming back at the same time. See whether I can break this down. More damage out the later phases as well, so yeah, a lot of damage coming in. I think we are probably gonna get to one last shield. There we go. So obviously not the perfect run, because my best run was at 10 million. And I think the RNG here really comes from where the burns proc, whether we get the right stacks at the right time. I can see Janus Grismore is the one doing the most damage here at the moment. Then we have Arbiter of Frost, Anai, followed by Ingrid, and then Socadins. Socadins surprisingly doing the least damage here, but I think it makes sense because in this codex, damage over time debuffs do the most amount of damage. So Socadins doesn't really do most of his damage that way. It's mostly from his ultimate. So no surprise that Janus Grismore is on top. But of course, these runs vary a lot. I had my best run where, Violeta Vayne was actually doing the most damage. So you gotta watch out to see when Janus Grismore doesn't spawn as much of the Phoenix's eggs after they expire, because that fluctuates the damage by quite a fair bit. You can see that in all my different runs, the damage are gonna fluctuate slightly a bit, and yeah. Overall, you can still see that she's definitely top 2 in terms of damage. No matter where you put it, no matter how you set up the team, she's gonna be right there alongside with Violeta Vayne. So definitely coming up to be one of the strongest single target units that we've gotten from the Inferno faction so far, and even outdoing Socadins in this case. So yeah. Alright, so that's Janus Grismore, potentially one of the strongest single target Inferno units that we've gotten so far. And I think the only area that she doesn't do well, at least from our testing, was Abyss. So I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but during the run, in the later phases, her eggs just didn't get enough time to actually hatch the Phoenixes, which is her main source of damage. So in, I think, the second physical or magic phase onwards, those eggs was just instantly getting deleted before they could even come in. So Abyss is unfortunately going to be one of the areas that she doesn't do well in. But let's say we're talking about single target damage content like Arbiter of Frost, where Inferno units are really doing very well in. She's definitely going to be top 2 in terms of selections there. You can see right now, even on test server gear, we've managed to get about 10 million score. So no doubt when she comes on the global, when people actually pull her awakenings, she's going to do way better, and especially with the A3. When she is able to summon the Phoenixes back very quickly. In time sensitive content like Codex or boss content, that is going to do really well. But if let's say you're talking about long haul content like GVG for example, which you probably won't use her in, then the A3 doesn't become that big of a deal. And then we also have A5 with the extra damage with targets with burning, so that synergizes really well with units like Anai, Violeta Vayne, as well as herself, because she alone already inflicts, 4 stacks of burning. So yeah, definitely shaping up to be one of the game changers, and we don't even have the Inferno lot yet, so we don't know how that fits all in, whether Socadins gets replaced or something, but so far she's doing really well. And the good thing about her is that she doesn't get interrupted by Socadins. So when he casts his ultimate, the Phoenixes still focus on attacking the target. She doesn't really get affected by that. And given that the Phoenixes all inherit her stats, it's just gonna do a crap ton of damage, even though she has already a slightly higher than above attack base stat to begin with. So yeah, that's it for the video. If you have any more questions, leave it down in the comment section below. Try my best to answer them. And if you've enjoyed the content, leave a like or subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.